All right, strap in, everyone. Today, we are diving deep into some serious dark mythology with Orcus, the demon lord of Undeath.
Buckle up, because this isn't your friendly neighborhood Grim Reaper.
Not even close. We're talking total annihilation of all life, his ultimate goal.
A perfectly still, silent reality, nothing but undeath, kind of puts a damper on things, wouldn't you say?
Just a tad. But before we spiral into complete existential dread, let's get a visual here. I'm picturing, well, monstrous, part goat, part humanoid, giant bat wings, and probably a bone-crushing mace.
You're not far off. A lot of depictions lean into that grotesque fusion of creatures. It plays into the whole unsettling nature of undeath.
Right, right. But here's the thing, and this is what I found so interesting. He's not just some mindless brute, is he?
Not at all. From what we've gathered, Orcus is actually a brilliant strategist, master manipulator even, brains and brawn.
Okay, yeah, that's a terrifying combo. But let's unpack this, because something that really jumped out at me is this whole paradox. Orcus, the lord of the undead, despises mindless undead. How does that even work?
It's a head-scratcher for sure. There's this theory that he sees them as just tools, you know? Use them and toss them aside.
Because they lack that spark.
Yeah, exactly. That individuality, that free will. For some reason, it's something he seems to really despise.
So it's not life itself he hates, it's more like the lack of true existence, wouldn't you say?
It's a possibility. Could be a twisted sense of individuality, maybe projecting his own fears of becoming mindless.
I mean, could he be trying to wipe the slate clean because he's terrified of ending up like them?
Some scholars even suggest that he's trying to eradicate life because it's the root of his own torment.
Whoa, okay, hold on. So he's basically saying, if I have to suffer existing, then nobody gets to exist.
It's a pretty intense existential crisis, to say the least.
Yeah, no kidding. But speaking of contradictions, here's another one. Orcus, this being of undeath, is constantly hungry. Wait, undead creatures need to eat.
Oh, absolutely. His servants scour the multiverse, bringing him delicacies to devour.
Hold up. Devour.
Yeah.
This isn't your typical midnight snack situation, is it?
Not quite. It's specifically the blood of living creatures that seems to satisfy him.
Okay, so now we're venturing into creepy territory.
You could say that you've got this cosmic horror who wants to end all existence, but he's got these primal urges.
He's basically a walking contradiction. A cosmic horror with a taste for blood. To understand this, I think we need to go back to his roots. He wasn't always a demon lord.
You're right. The lore tells us he started as a mortal spellcaster, obsessed with power, delving into forbidden magic.
Sounds like someone got a little too curious for their own good.
You could say that. His thirst for power led him straight to the abyss, the chaotic evil plane where demons dwell. And get this, he started at the very bottom. A lowly larva.
Wait, seriously. The demon lord of undeath was once a demon grub.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it? A classic underdog story, but with a demonic twist.
So he crawls his way up from the bottom, eventually becomes a Balor, which I know is a pretty powerful type of demon. But even that wasn't enough.
Nope. He kept pushing, kept scheming, until he ascended to the rank of demon lord. Ambition like you wouldn't believe.
Talk about a power grab. But there's another version of his origin story, right? Something about him existing before the abyss itself.
That's right. Some legends depict him alongside Baphomet and Demogorgon. We're talking primordial beings from the dawn of creation.
Imagine the power struggles going on back then.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Speaking of power struggles, Orcus isn't known for sharing the spotlight. He's got that rivalry with Demogorgon, the Prince of Demons, and Grozit.
It's a constant battle for dominance. Those rivalries are as core to their mythologies as their powers.
And then there's the whole incident with Baphomet, another powerful demon lord. Orcus straight up imprisoned him.
Yeah.
Not afraid to play dirty, is he?
That move really shows you how cunning and ruthless he can be. He's not just destruction, he's a strategist. He'll use any means necessary.
So we've got this cosmic horror obsessed with undeath, who started as a literal grub, clawed his way to the top, and isn't afraid to betray anyone to get what he wants.
Sounds about right.
But his influence goes beyond the abyss, doesn't it? He's got followers in the mortal world,
Yeah.
cults dedicated to spreading his whole vibe.
Oh yeah, those cults are a testament to his reach. They operate in the shadows, spreading fear, weakening reality.
Trying to make his vision of a world ruled by undeath a reality.
Exactly. And it's pretty unsettling when you think about it.
No kidding. And then there's the Crown of Narfel, this artifact he created to corrupt a royal bloodline for generations.
It's insidious, isn't it? corrupting a powerful lineage to subtly influence entire nations, turning them towards death and decay.
Long game, much. And we can't forget the connection to Caius, an elder evil who might have been a priest of Orcus. That just screams bad news.
It adds a whole other layer to his story, this connection to cosmic horror, the idea that his influence reaches beyond just undeath.
But here's where things take a really wild turn. Orcus has died and been reborn multiple times. He even achieved a form of godhood at one point.
It's a testament to his ambition and power. He actually managed to ascend. But his reign was short-lived. Arrogance and complacency got the better of him.
Hold on. He basically becomes a god and then screws it up because he gets too cocky.
It's almost poetic, isn't it? The Lord of Undeath, undone by his own hubris.
It's kind of hilarious
Yeah.
and ironic, but it does make you wonder, if he's so obsessed with ending all existence, what does it mean that he keeps coming back?
It's a question that leads us deeper into his realm, his artifacts, and the true nature of his power. It really makes you think, doesn't it? All these cycles of death and rebirth. Is he in control? Or just a pawn in some bigger cosmic game?
Right, like, can he actually end everything if he keeps getting pulled back? Maybe that's part of his whole torment thing. But let's talk about his digs. When he's not plotting the end of the world, where does he hang out? His realm, Thanatos, sounds like a real blast.
Not exactly a vacation destination. 333rd layer of the abyss. Yeah, it's about as bleak as you'd expect. Things shattered necropolises, perpetual twilight, hordes of undead roaming around.
So basically a goth's dream come true.
Pretty much, just with a lot more existential dread. And at the heart of it all is his palace, Everlost.
Okay, now I'm picturing skulls, cobwebs, maybe some mood lighting. What's the decor like?
Think decay and despair. The whole place reflects his obsession with the stillness of undeath.
Charming. And it's from there that he's pulling the strings, right?
Yeah.
Orchestrating his schemes across the multiverse.
Exactly. Thanatos is his base of operations. Speaking of tools of the trade, we have to talk about the wand of Orcus.
Oh yeah, the infamous death stick. What can this thing do?
It's the ultimate power move. One touch and any living being is toast, instantly transformed into an undead servant under his control.
So not only do you die, but you become his puppet. Talk about adding insult to injury.
It's a symbol of his dominion over death and a pretty effective way to spread his influence, to say the least.
I read that it's been destroyed multiple times, but it always comes back. Is it indestructible, or is there some kind of magic trickery going on?
It's one of those things that just points to its importance in his whole mythology. Some believe it's an extension of Orcus himself, bound to him by magic.
So destroying it might weaken him, but it won't actually take him down.
Unlikely. It's like trying to cut off a hydra's head.
So it's the ultimate MacGuffin for adventurers looking to take down the big bad. But let's not forget about his fan club. Those cults are still out there, trying to make his dream of a lifeless reality come true.
They're the underbelly of his operation, working in secret, spreading fear and despair, performing rituals to weaken the barriers between the abyss and the mortal world.
Yeah, the end goal is
To create a world where death reigns supreme, a perfect stage for Orcus's dominion.
We talked about the Crown of Narfell, but are there other examples of him meddling in mortal affairs? Does he ever get directly involved, or does he prefer to delegate?
Orcus is a master manipulator, works from the shadows, But there are times when his power manifests directly. Take the Death Knight, for example.
Ah, the Death Knight. It's like the poster child for Orcus's power. A corrupted warrior, a mockery of life. It's pretty terrifying.
And a prime example of his direct influence. This isn't some follower, it's a being directly bound to his will.
Speaking of power, let's revisit the whole Orcus as a god thing. How did he even manage to pull that off?
It was a complicated scheme, divine power manipulation, loopholes in the cosmic order. The guy's a genius when it comes to bending the rules. But, as we said before, it didn't last.
So he's a god wannabe who failed spectacularly.
You could say that, but it does raise some interesting questions. What does it mean for a demon lord to achieve divinity?
Right. Does it change who they are? Or just amplify everything they already are?
In Orcus's case, it seems like his flaws were amplified right alongside his power, which ultimately led to his downfall.
So it's not just about power, it's about control. Or in his case, the lack of it.
It's a cautionary tale, for sure.
But also kind of hopeful. Even the most powerful beings have weaknesses.
Exactly. No one is invincible.
We've covered a lot. Origins, his realm, artifacts, followers, even his failed attempt at godhood. What's next?
I think it's time we zoom out a bit, look at the bigger picture. How does Orcus fit into the grand scheme of the D&D multiverse? What are the consequences of his actions on other planes of existence?
Okay, I like where this is going. Let's get a wider lens on this whole Orcus situation.
Because the struggle between life and death, order and chaos, that's something that resonates far beyond just one demon lord.
Okay, so we've delved deep into Orcus's realm, his artifacts, his followers, even his failed attempt at godhood. But let's zoom out now. Big picture time. How does this whole Orcus thing fit into the grand scheme of the D&D multiverse?
Well, we've talked about those rivalries, right? With Demogorgon, Grass, these other demon lords. But these aren't just like petty squabbles.
Right, it's not just a demonic reality show.
Exactly. It's about the balance of power in the abyss. And the abyss, well, it's not exactly known for its stability.
It's chaotic evil, always trying to push into other realities. So what Orcus does there?
It can have ripple effects across the entire multiverse.
Like a cosmic butterfly effect.
More like a cosmic domino effect. One wrong move and everything could topple.
And his whole obsession with undeath, that makes him a unique threat, right?
Definitely. Other demon lords they might want to conquer, destroy, but Orcus, he wants to transform reality into this stagnant reflection of his own, well, desires.
It's not just about power, it's about imposing his vision on everything. A state of absolute stillness. Nothing changes, nothing grows, nothing lives.
Sounds delightful, doesn't it?
Not really my idea of a good time. And his cults, they're out there actually trying to make this happen.
They're his agents in the mortal world,
Yeah.
spreading his influence.
It's like this insidious thing slowly creeping in, corrupting everything it touches.
Exactly. Reaching out from the abyss, sowing chaos and despair.
It's almost Lovecraftian, isn't it? This ancient, incomprehensible entity slowly encroaching on reality.
There are definitely some parallels there. Both Orcus and those Lovecraftian horrors, they represent forces beyond our understanding.
Alien to our ideas of good and evil. Life and death. It's unsettling.
To say the least.
But there's also this tragic element to Orcus's story, don't you think? This idea of him being trapped in a cycle he hates.
Constantly reborn into a reality he wants to destroy. Yeah, there's a definite element of torment there.
It makes you wonder, is he really evil? Or is he just playing a role? Like a force of nature, maybe. Entropy. The inevitable decay that makes way for new life.
It's an interesting way to look at it. Do our moral judgments even apply to something like Orcus?
He's from beyond our realm, operating under completely different rules.
It's like trying to judge a hurricane for destroying a city.
It's just doing what it does. But even if you can't judge him, his story still makes us think, doesn't it? About existence, morality, the nature of reality.
That's the power of mythology, isn't it? It challenges us to think outside our own limited perspective.
To consider possibilities we might not have even imagined. So, to our listeners, we leave you with this. What does Orcus's story tell us about our own place in the universe? Are we just pawns in some grand cosmic game, or do we have the power to shape our own destiny, even in the face of forces that seem unstoppable?
It's a question worth pondering.
Keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and keep diving deep. Until next time.